Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Irene Cellino. I'm the head of the Knowledge Technologies Unit at Cefriel, the Research and Innovation Center based in Milano, Italy. And I am the project coordinator of the PERCS project. So welcome to this webinar. This is the first webinar in a series of events that PERCS will organize. Today we will talk about human-centered and trustworthy AI with some guest speakers. Before going to that, let me briefly introduce the PERCS project and why we are here today. So PERCS is an innovation action co-funded by the European Commission under the Horizon Europe program. PERCS' goal is to elicit and exploit procedural knowledge in industrial contexts. What does this mean? So the problem we are addressing is the management of knowledge about industrial procedures. Why? Because this is usually poorly digitized, poorly documented. It's mostly tacit knowledge, but the correct execution of procedure is crucial for the correct operations of industrial companies. So our target are industrial workers that needs to be supported in order to improve their efficiency, but also to improve their skills, to facilitate the knowledge transfer between different employees. We are providing them with digital tools to support the collection first, the preservation and management, and the reuse and exploitation of this procedural knowledge. And we are using AI technologies, both symbolic AI, so knowledge graph technology, to digitize this knowledge, and other kind of sub-symbolic AI, like machine learning, conversational AI, and the like, to support the exploitation of this knowledge. All of this with human in the loop approaches, because we want people to stay at the center of the attention of the entire project. And we are a consortium of 9 partners around Europe, expert in AI and data technologies. And of course, we have 3 use cases, 3 industrial use cases from manufacturing and the energy sector. So the main pillars of PERCS are 3. It's AI as a tool to increase, to augment the capabilities of people, in our case, the industrial employees. Data, and especially knowledge graph, as a way to preserve the knowledge, the procedural knowledge over time. And the third pillar is, of course, people. We want the people to stay at the center and to be empowered in their work every day. So as you see, PERCS addresses a specific problem of procedural knowledge, but the themes and the topics are quite general. So that is the reason for this webinar series. We want to have these webinars as a way to discuss relevant topics, so topics that are relevant to the PERCS project, but to compare with other projects, European collaborative projects, especially those under the AI, data, and robotics partnership. So this is the first, as I said, the first webinar of this series. And the topic today will be human-centered and trustworthy AI. So I have three guest speakers with me today, with whom I will drive the conversation. So let me first of all introduce them. So we have Asbjørn Folstad from SINTEF, Norway. Hello, Asbjørn. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for accepting. And we have Ricardo Besta from Inestec in Portugal. Hola,
Hello.
Ricardo, welcome to you.
Hello. Thanks for the invitation also.
Thank you again. I'm happy to have you here. And I think we also have Matteo Falsetta from GFT Technologies.
Sure, here I am. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thanks, Matteo. Welcome to you as well. So as I said, these 3 speakers are here because they are working on a similar topic in other European projects. So first of all, I will let them speak for a few minutes about their project as well. So I will start with you, Asbjørn. The project's name THEMIS 5.0, so the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much for this. And again, thank you for having me. I start out with putting the link to the project in the chat. So in the case you want to have a look at the project website, it is there for you to find. So I'm Asbjørn Følstad. I'm a chief scientist at SINTEF, and SINTEF is an independent Norwegian research organization on technology. And my background is in psychology, but I've been working with human-computer interaction for the last 20 or so years in research, and my main research interest over the last few years has been human-centered AI. And I'm here as a researcher in the project THEMIS 5.0. That's a research and innovation action supported by the Horizon Europe in this call, human-centered and ethical development of digital and industrial technologies. And in THEMIS, we are 16 partners from 9 European countries. We're led by the coordinator Maggioli, and we collaborate on knowledge and methods and technologies to ensure human-centered, trustworthy AI. So if you change the page now, Irene, thanks. So our approach to trustworthy AI in THEMIS is to develop a framework for assessment and optimization of AI trustworthiness, and also to establish a platform in which this framework will be applied. And here, trustworthiness is addressed through a human-centered approach to risk management, meaning that we draw on a overall risk management approach to handle trustworthiness, which is based on existing frameworks for trustworthy AI and risk management, such as that of the US NIST and the European NISA. Input to the risk management process in THEMIS are assessments of AI trustworthiness characteristics. And those characteristics, they reflect technical and business and ethical legal perspectives of relevance to AI trustworthiness. And these characteristics, they are then assessed relative to the specific socio-technical environment of the AI system. We particularly in THEMIS consider the accuracy and robustness of AI systems, so that is from the technical perspective, as well as fairness aspects of the AI system, that is from the ethical and legal perspective. However, the overall framework and platform will be set up to incorporate the breadth of relevant AI trustworthiness characteristics. The human-centered character of the THEMIS approach is seen in that users of an AI system, they are involved throughout the process in identifying the relevant trustworthiness characteristics for their AI system and also detailing these characteristics. And as part of this work, we also identify general preferences for the user groups involved, so that this can be taken into consideration in the trustworthiness assessment and optimization, in addition to, of course, general ethical and legal requirements for trustworthy AI. The human-centered approach, this is also seen in that the AI systems in the THEMIS approach are assessed within their specific socio-technical environments. And in this project, it is reflected through the project use cases, three project use cases, and thereby 3 specific contexts, that is within healthcare, within news media, and port management. So the environments of AI systems in these use cases and the relevant users of these AI systems in these use cases are involved through the THEMIS approach. The THEMIS project, it runs until 2026. There is a lot of interesting research going on there. Well, you have the link to the website in the chat, and I will also include the link to the THEMIS LinkedIn page just after finishing talking. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Asbjørn. So it's really interesting. First of all, because you cover an aspect that is really close to my heart, which is assessment with humans, which I think in general, independently of the AI context, is something that we as technologists need to take into account always. And I'm really happy also that you're a psychologist. So you definitely cover also the social science side of assessment. And if I can make a note, another thing that really interests me is the fact that you are involving them to understand what to assess and what are the risks and what are the trustworthy characteristics that people care about. Because in general, we try to have universal assessments. But when we go into specific context, we know that the assessment must be context specific. And so this is definitely something that really is interesting, and probably we'll be back to that in our discussion afterwards. So thanks a lot, Asbjørn. So I will go on with Ricardo, who works on another interesting project, which is AI4REALNET. So first of all, I will ask you, what net are you talking about? What is your net? I suspect it's more, as you said, since you are the coordinator of the Center for Power and Energy, it means that it's a utility network, right?
Yeah, I'm a power system engineer, so I must do that disclaimer. But I've been working on AI since 2006, mainly on forecasting. So AI4REALNET is actually a sister project of THEMIS 5.0. It's from the same call. In our case, we are targeting critical infrastructure, so power grid, air traffic management, and railway. So those three critical infrastructures, they can be represented as a network. There is always cascading events when you have a problem on the networks, and when you have AI, you need to be aware that this is a high-risk application. So something we are doing in the project, you can go to the next slide. So in the project, this is like how I summarize the project in a single slide. So we are focused on reinforcement learning. So we have distributed and hierarchical reinforcement learning. This knowledge-assisted AI, it's also very similar to what you have in PERC. So the idea here is to integrate knowledge from humans, knowledge that already exists for decades, and include these as a starting point for AI, in particular for reinforcement learning. And always the question of explainability, the analysis of the agent behavior is very important, and we are considering in the project 3 different ways of interaction between AI and humans. So one is an AI assistant, so human remains in full control. Then co-learning, when they are mutual learning between the two, and autonomous AI, although here the human remains in the loop, and it's mainly as a supervisor of the AI algorithm, although the core learning can also be used here. And as I mentioned, we are targeting these 3 infrastructures. For each one, we have digital environments for testing AI, for validation, for trustworthiness assessment. And they also generate data that is close to real data. And finally, we have to evaluate the use cases. We have 6 use cases that were defined by industry, so 2 for each critical infrastructure, and we also evaluate the social part of the system, AI system, so including the human part. In the next slide, something we have been doing. So we defined use cases by industry, and we have been using the Altai as a tool to identify requirements. So it's a different way of using the Altai tool, and what we are doing is basically we have the use cases, we have industry answering the questions of Altai, and then from those answers we extract requirements for the use cases. So that's a way of, from the initial design point, to start already identifying requirements that should be integrated during the development phase. So one more figure, and this is something we already have. You can see in our website the deliverable we developed during this first year, a framework. Actually, this is like you are designing a social technical system in the optimal way in terms of teaming between AI and humans. And it's a very multidisciplinary approach. So we have social scientists here from different fields. I mean, cognitive scientists, psychology, philosophy. And with that, we are building a human model, a model for the human, and then how we can interact with AI in terms of human-machine interface, and also the role of the digital environments in this framework are quite important because they allow not just to train and validate AI, but also to evaluate the trustworthiness of AI from the robustness point of view and risk assessment. And this is somehow summarizing what we are doing in the project. This framework, this figure in particular, is for co-learning, when we have to interact human and AI, and there is mutual learning between the two. And thank you. So you can see more information on the website, the use cases, the conceptual framework, and our position paper.
So thanks a lot, Ricardo. I mean, I really liked another very interesting project. I really like both the thing that you said about different interaction pattern between people and AI, and I think this is definitely very interesting as an investigation space. And also this co-learning, of course, is really going back and forth between people and AI. It's really important. The other thing that I find really smart is this use of the Altai guidelines, because Altai, I mean, for people who don't know Altai, this is a very useful resource that we should all use to understand how to address the relationship with the AI, the risks and also the opportunities. But Altai somehow remains, of course, at a high level because it was thought to be general. So the idea that you're using it to derive more specific requirements, that similar to what Asbjørn was saying before in the specific context, I find it really smart. So probably we'll be back to that later. So thanks a lot, Ricardo.
Okay.
Last but not least, Matteo, who is the coordinator, right, of the HumAIne project, another acronym that incorporates AI in the project name. So, Matteo, please explain to us what is HumAIne.
Yes, thanks a lot. HumAIne has as an objective the aim to create a novel operating system that puts at the center the human AI collaboration. So it's going to be an operating system that is completely focused on the human figure and seeing AI as an assistant to the human. So it's not someone or a technology that we need to be afraid of, but it's just a tool that we are leveraging on in order to be highly performant and in order to complete some tasks that might be very complex per se. And the HumAIne pillars are three technology that are still to be further analyzed because we are talking about frontier technologies such as active learning, the paradigm, the neurosymbolic AI, and the swarm learning. So this platform plays as an enabler of many tasks and most importantly decision making from humans. The active learning paradigm, it's focused on the fact that there are human feedbacks. So there are AI models that help you in decision making. So they present you some output, of course, based on specific criteria and input. And the human factor is the feedback on whether this output is tailored to the solution or it's not. And by having this loop, so it's a human in the loop dynamics, you fine tune and refine the decision making of the AI models, reaching high performances and efficiency. The neurosymbolic AI paradigm helps in further analyzing in depth the data that come from the data collection phase of the platform, and this helps in a more precise matching between the input and the output that are given. And the swarm learning allows a decentralized machine learning approach that, supported by edge computing and blockchain, allows the end user in accessing data models that else wouldn't be reachable. Let me make just a use case example. So imagine in healthcare sector, the diagnosis of a specific illness. Of course, each hospital has its own data set and its own database. And you know how difficult it is to share this kind of data because of privacy issues, of course, and the ethical part, which is a very core aspect of the human AI collaboration. Well, the hospital will be relying on its own database, missing some features and some parameters that might be helpful in having a more precise diagnosis of an illness. So while having this network of collaboration, as we can see it in a simpler way through the swarm learning paradigm, they can access some other data models from other hospitals while not interfering with privacy issues or personal data management aspects, and enrich the AI models that can provide more precise outputs. So this is an example of a research and innovation action project that can have a very big impact. So I particularly highlight this because people always perceive or ISO Neuro projects as distant with respect to the daily life, whereas we can actually have our say in daily life matters. So these are the three main pillars of HumAIne, and the HumAIne will provide a novel operating system to enhance and further improve the human AI collaboration. And in conclusion, just as food for thought, or in any case for the discussion, I hope will follow our interventions. Let's prioritize also the ethics, the ethical aspect of what the human AI collaboration envisions, because this is a key aspect when we talk about AI as a support to human rather than as a replacement.
Thanks a lot, Matteo. Yeah, I totally buy that. I think that, yes, you touch very interesting point, not only on the technological side, but also definitely on the impact. I totally agree. I mean, our role as a researcher and partners of this collaborative project is exactly to bring solutions closer to our daily life and to solve our daily problem. I really like also what you said at the beginning as AI as assistant. I used to say that I do not believe in automation, I believe in augmentation. So AI should not replace, as you were saying, but should be an actual help, also to avoid people to do repetitive or useless or less relevant tasks, but to focus on what really requires human intelligence. So I'm really happy of your introductions, guys. I think that we had a very interesting and broad view of very different, but also have a lot of themes in common between Perks and your project. So let's start our discussion with I mean, the topic today, as everybody understood from your presentation, is for human-centered and trustworthy AI. So the first question I would ask you is, in your view, in your vision, what are the key aspects that make AI human-centered? So in technological research, what part of can we bring on, and or what are the main things that we have to focus to make AI really human-centered? So Asbjørn, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can start on that one. I think that making AI human-centered concerns ensuring that AI systems serves the intended purposes of users, so it sort of helps users or organizations, either industry or government, to achieve their goals as they want to, without having substantial foreseen or unforeseen negative implications as part of that. And so that is sort of the basics of human-centered technology. But then there is a whole range of methods as to, well, how do we achieve this in a complex world with different users, perhaps different stakeholders having different perspectives on what is important, and also different service providers with their stakes in the design of the AI systems. But basically what we want to achieve is very simple. It is AI systems that serves the intended goals of the user. And I totally agree with you, Matteo, that this vision of an AI assistant is very much to the core of that purpose. At the same time, it is difficult to understand or know whether there might be unforeseen consequences or implications of such an assistant that could sort of backfire or be unfortunate for the users, which goes against the human-centered aspect. So that would be my initial take on that.
Thank you. Ricardo, what's your take on it?
I agree what was said. I could add, from our point of view, considering these three different ways of interaction we are studying in the project, and after the first year and discussing these among the consortium, maybe the co-learning should be the final goal. So we could have assistant in the initial phase. That's something that, for example, in the power grid is being considered. Let's say in the next 10 years, we'll have AI assistants, but the next step might be the co-learning. So even in autonomous AI, when you have a task that can be performed in autonomous way by AI, you still need the co-learning part, even because the human, of course, the roles will be different, but the human will still be there. And I think going the direction of co-learning is one way of being human-centric and really integrate the human on these. The other way, I think it's the way we design the human-machine interfaces. We also have to redesign them, because part of the aversion from humans to AI, in some cases, even the level of information or the quantity of the information that is provided to the human, and this can be seen as a barrier as well. That's why I think we need social scientists. We need a very strong multidisciplinary group so that we can design the future human-machine interfaces that can make it easier to have this team between the two. Another thing, but more like a technical aspect, we need to think on interpretability as a primary requirement. I think one important point is that the three projects and perks, all of the three consider symbolic AI, or at least the integration of symbolic knowledge, which I think is a good step on that direction, and also somehow it empowers the human on the training of the AI algorithms and on the supervision. And this is, I think, very interesting when we look at what is being done not in Europe. For example, in the US, they are not looking at that, or at least is not a priority for them. So even for looking at where European Union can be competitive in symbolic AI is exactly one of the areas, and is strongly related with human-centric approach.
Oh, I totally agree with that, because I mean, I've been working for the last 20 years on semantic web and knowledge graph technology, so that is my daily work. And yeah, I totally agree with you about the redesign of AI to address, as also Asbjørn was saying, the goals of a specific user, because sometimes we do not even understand what are the actual needs of the users until we put them in front of the system and we see them interacting with them. And that's what, for example, we are doing in Perks, but for the collection of the knowledge. So what is the knowledge that is relevant for an industrial worker and what is obvious because it's just background knowledge, for example, and also, okay, what kind of support do you really need? If you're giving them assistance, the assistant must assist and not do useless steps that for the user are irrelevant. So being relevant and what user want is really important. So Matteo, do you have something to add to that?
Yeah, I think that as of my contribution, the three main aspects regarding this theme are the explainability of AI. So explainable AI as an enabler, because it makes every step on the way more clear. So this means that we can monitor and have control on it, and we can replicate it, and we can set also the perimeter of activity and of action of each task and each stream. So this gives us a lot of power and a lot of room to center every service around the human. Another aspect, and this is the first aspect I wanted to treat. The second one is exactly the learning, as Riccardo mentioned, the learning part that AI enables and implements, because this reminds us how the AI is a tool that we need to exploit at its best in order to be more efficient and to have a better in terms of quality of life, a better life, because we will take less time to make some tasks that are typically requiring a lot of effort, and maybe the output is, let me say, a kind of micromanagement. So this can let us focus more on strategy, focus more on the impact that our actions have. And last but not least, of course, is the giving the right attention and significance to the ethical and legal aspect, because the compliance to regulations and compliance to European framework is the baseline from which we need to make some reasoning while talking about human-centered AI. Because if we forget about the legal aspects of it, we forget about some human requirements and needs. And about this, this is why HumAIne and other projects, for instance, are paying attention to the Horizon Europe Legal and Ethics Network that is trying to promoting this kind of message and dynamics, because the legal and ethics topic in European projects is always seen as something like a compliance ticketing, list. It's like having a checklist to tick off, but this is a very important aspect we cannot neglect in every project.
No, I totally agree. It's about human rights, not not only human duties, because of course there are duties, but it's about human rights. So I totally agree with that. One thing that I wanted to ask you is that if there is something specific in technology that makes it human. So just to make an example from Perks, but from our everyday experience today, the new wave of natural language interfaces and natural language systems, conversational AI and the like, somehow as a technology are a way to break down the barrier between human and machines, to make it more human-like, the interaction between the user and the technology, which of course is also a risk, because we must make sure that conversational AI backed by symbolic knowledge can actually provide the right information. But somehow I also see that the technology that we are using or researching about today also go into that direction of somehow reducing the distance between people and technology. Do you have any similar or different examples of cases of making the technology closer to the users? Who wants to say something about that? Ricardo.
I can say it depends sometimes on the use case and system where we are applying AI. For example, in our case, we are talking about complex networks, in particular on the power grid, but the railway as well. So just textual information or communication might not be the ideal. For example, something we are exploring is the concept of hypervision. So hypervision is something, let's say, different from supervision, where you just somehow work like a task-based approach, and you only look at information that is relevant. That can be combined with textual information, but just alone, the textual information might not be enough or the only solution for that. But for sure, it makes more easier for the human to interact with that. But if you have a complex network, you can also give complex information. And sometimes other kind of communication, like visual communication only without any kind of text, might be more effective. For example, in our case, we have use cases that is real-time operation of this network. So when it is in real time, textual information might not be the most effective way to communicate. So this might change even with the temporal dimension of the problem.
Absolutely.
But to also follow up on that, it's no doubt that AI is coming closer to humans. There's been now for a while been talk about the democratization of AI, and it's both on the side of AI use by consumers, but also in industry and in government decision processes, and reflected in the use cases of, I guess, all our project, but also in THEMIS. What we in THEMIS also are considerable or concerned or focus about in that regard is to understand this relationship between humans and technology and try to bring humans in closer to the decisions to be taken by technology at different phases of the life cycle of the technology. So, for example, when in a port management or in a medical use case in THEMIS, when future users are to be making use of the AI system that we will be assessing in THEMIS, well, this assessment has to start at the conception level of the AI system and continue throughout the life cycle of the AI design and development and implementation process. And to be able to do that, we have to make it possible for users at different levels, both those that will implement, but also those that will make use of, to understand the capabilities of the AI system at an as early point as possible and throughout, and also how these capabilities change throughout. And I guess that will be relevant. Either the AI technology is seen as a collaborative partner, or if it is something that is even more automatized. But this closeness between users and technologies, even in the phases before the technology is implemented, I believe is important.
Thank you, Asbjørn. So, Matteo, welcome back. Connection always drops.
Yes, apologies. I had a drop in the connection sometimes.
No problem.
Yeah,
no problem.
These are the perks of going live. is the question still about the bridging the gap between?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that case, in HumAIne, we are spending a lot of effort into ontologies, the definition, and of course semantic interoperability, because this is a way, for instance, to improve the user experience of many different use cases that we have. For instance, we have one, just to make an example, because use cases are always good to share knowledge from
Absolutely.
projects.
Go ahead.
We are building up a more intelligent system, let's say, in addressing the right ticket for the internal ticketing of an enterprise with respect to an IT problem. So to do that, often people need to address the the internal team by creating a specific ticket, and we all know how annoying that is. Also, because you describe the problem and you are redirected to a very generic and high-level solution. So we are trying to fine-tune a solution in order to make this easier and smoother. And this can only be made by having putting a lot of effort into the semantics of this
Thank you. I
of
mean,
this data.
of course, I'm very happy to hear that because it's what I work on. And yeah, so I totally agree. When the experience of the user is negative or not optimal, people tend to just not to use that technology, and that it's a pity because it means that there is a mismatch between the offer and the need of the users. And this is also leads us to the theme of trust, because if people do not trust the system, they tend not to use the system at all. So the other side of the coin, that's why we put together human-centered and trustworthy AI in this webinar, is the side of the trust in technology. So I would like to ask you what trustworthiness means to you, or to your specific examples of use cases in what is trust for your users, and how to make sure to take properly into account the trust side of things as well.
Yes. Well, I guess all research projects on trust and trustworthiness have this initial phase of distinguishing between the two. We've had that in the THEMIS project, and I've been part of that in other projects as well. But the important part, and what I believe that we can achieve by a human-centered approach to AI, is to be able to have a good match between the trustworthiness of a system and the trust that users actually put into the system, so that the user's trust, which is sort of the beliefs and attitudes of the user, matches the capabilities of the AI system, that is the trustworthiness of the AI system. The challenge of this, of course, is that trustworthiness concerns a wide range of trustworthiness characteristics, slightly depending on what framework you go by, but there will be a number of trustworthiness characteristics, like technical characteristics such as accuracy and robustness. It will be, well, fairness and bias is typically included. It will be privacy, it will be safety, it will be security, and so forth. And all these, in many ways, could be important in any use case. And what is important, at least from a THEMIS perspective, is to be able to scope this set of trustworthiness characteristics so that they actually fit the specific AI system in that context where you want to assess it. So that, for example, when port managers in that use case are assessing and optimizing trustworthiness in an AI system, that will be on a slightly different configuration of trustworthiness characteristics than, for example, in a health use case. And this is work in progress, but to allow users to be involved in the identification of the relevant trustworthiness characteristics and what these characteristics mean for the specific use case, I believe it will be an important contribution to make, and I hope that is a contribution that we will make in the THEMIS project. That is at least what we're aiming for. But then again, you have all these trustworthiness characteristics. The system, you want the system to be accurate and robust. You want it to be fair, and you have to somehow ensure that. But then some of these characteristics could also be at odds with each other. You need some kind of negotiation process between these, and that's where the risk management approach comes in to help negotiate between the characteristics. Yeah, so that would be my input on this.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said before, the fact that we need to scope what is the relevant is, and not to try to find a silver bullet that solves any possible problem. I think in general is the way to go. So I really think that is really important. So Ricardo, what is trust or trustworthiness to you and to your project?
First is a difficult question, or with a difficult answer, but I think depends a lot on the use case and also on the level of involvement of the human, because in some use cases it can be just the human in a qualitative way to define trust. In others it can be measured in a quantitative way. For example, in AI4REALNET, to somehow quantify trustworthiness, we have quantitative and qualitative KPIs. And I think we have is also the kind of information you can provide to the human or to a regulator that is assessing the conformity of the AI system. For example, in the AI system, one way of building trust is to have the AI communicating to the human when he thinks he will fail to provide a good recommendation. And if you do this in a continuous way, you can build a trust relation between the human operator and the AI assistant, because he starts to rely more. He knows AI can fail, but AI, if they say, I will not be able to give you a good recommendation, this builds some kind of a relationship. This is also related with what was mentioned in the risk management. So this is part of the risk management, in this case, operational risk management. Another thing that I think is very relevant is the monitoring capability and maintenance of AI, because I believe one of the challenges we'll have is to maintain AI algorithms. Again, we are handling critical infrastructures. One thing in critical infrastructure is maintenance of assets, failure detection on assets, classification. If you start to have AI will be another asset that probably will give more problems than a normal asset, because if data changes, you will have probably not a very good performance, and you have to detect that. And I think this will be something we are also doing in AI4REALNET, is KPIs for robustness, resilience, and reliability. And we need to measure these three to at least to have an idea of how reliable or how accurate can be an AI model. And it's very difficult to find metrics to do this, but much more difficult is the threshold for the metrics. So if I can measure resilience, above which value I can say this model have low resilience. It's very tricky to do this, and it's probably even not possible to do that. So I think we have an avenue of research and innovation exactly on that domain.
Yeah, I totally agree. For example, in Perks, one of our use case is about safety procedure in manufacturing. So how to safely shut down a machine in order to have a maintenance intervention, and then how to restart it properly after the intervention. And of course, this is not simply executing things correctly, but it's strongly related to physical safety of people, and so to avoiding injuries and accident to people. So the trust there means also taking into account what are the daily life of people, and what is relevant to them in order to do their job properly, but also not to get hurt in any way. And I also once in another event, somebody said that we usually say that we have to increase the user trust in system, but the right verb should be that we should calibrate the trust of user in the system, because also over trust could be harmful, not only under trust, let's say, to the system. So, Matteo, what's your take on this?
As of AI models in HumAIne, as a practice, we try to prioritize white glass AI models with respect to black box ones. So for those who are not really familiar with the difference between the two, is basically the first ones are easy to understand and to interpret at a human level. So the output you receive from the white glass model are intuitive, let's say, and easily explainable. Whereas the black box one, they give you an output, but you don't really understand what does it come from. I mean, at an immediate sight, at the first sight. So we are trying to prioritize the white glass ones. We give, of course, a lot of importance to the evaluation of the AI systems. So we are trying, whenever is possible, to make some assessment in order to understand how trustworthy it is, the output that we receive from the various algorithms. And of course, in order to be trustworthy, you need to be compliant. So we try to ensure compliance. I mean, we make effort, of course, to make this happen, but compliance with general frameworks such as the AI Act or the Data Act.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. So again, explainability, of course, as you said also before, it's definitely another research area that is really on fashion today, but also very important to have a concrete impact on the real world. So since we are getting very close to the end of our webinar, I would kindly ask Antonia if she can put in the chat a link to a short survey. So I will kindly ask all the attendees to the webinar to spend one time. Is a very short survey, but serves to us to understand what you liked and what you didn't like of this webinar, and to get your feedbacks and suggestions on how to improve and what topics to discuss in the next webinar of this series. And so thanks, Antonia, for that. And to conclude, I would like to ask each of you to say what's the main challenge that you have in front of you, or what's the next big thing that you wish to see in this area of human-centered and trustworthy AI? Asbjørn, do you want to start?
Well, I guess the main sort of ambition for trustworthy AI in the future, and in particular in THEMIS, is to truly engage users and domain experts in AI trustworthiness. The AI, it is becoming an increasing part of everyday lives, and trustworthy AI is important, and how to make users and domain experts engage with that issue, I think will be critical. We see, for example, if you compare it to the field of privacy, where it is evident that privacy is important, but users do not really engage with privacy issues necessarily. And trustworthy AI, well, similarly, how to avoid that happens to trustworthy AI, and how to engage with users in that that will be an ambition to be able to do that.
Thank you. Matteo, do you want to go next?
Well, yeah, the biggest challenge I think is gonna be not to forget about the human factor. So always really take into account that there is a human at the end of the pipeline, whether it is checking the output, whether it is implementing it. So always reminding that there is files to be implemented. So and the human doing it with all its inefficiencies and all its difficulties, being a human. So yeah.
Thanks, Matteo. Riccardo.
I think the biggest challenge is the optimal design of the social technical system. So we have to look at these as systems, and in these systems we have humans, we have AI, we have the data, we have the interface between the two, we have interoperability that is also needed. So if we want to have a fully functional AI-based system working in a trustworthy way, we need to design the whole system in optimal way. And the impression I see, this is being addressed in a very fragmented approach, even because it's very challenging to do it in a unified approach. But this is the direction if we want to really integrate AI in systems, in particular on critical systems. Another one is we have also to consider this delusional or disappointment with AI, because this will happen. We'll have use cases where AI is not a solution. At a certain point, all this enthusiasm around AI will slightly decrease, as with any technology, and this is also, I think, a critical phase in the research in AI and in innovation.
Totally agree also with that. So thanks a lot to Asbjørn, Riccardo, and Matteo for participating to this webinar as guest speakers. Thanks to all the attendees that attended this webinar. This webinar is being recorded, so it will be also republished on the PERCS YouTube channel for anybody who will want to listen to our conversation, not in real time. We will keep in touch for the next PERCS that will wait for us in the next month. Probably the next webinar will be around early 2025. So thanks again for your participation, and I hope to see you again at the next time. Ciao, ciao.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.